Amen. Well, good morning. For those of you that don't know, my name is Matt Mullen. I am the youth pastor here at Light in the Valley, and this is our youth group. So this past week, this youth group traveled down on Sunday to Louisville, Kentucky with YWAM, and we did outreach all week long. We had a lot of cross-cultural experiences to people who don't look like us, who don't think like us, who are just from a very different background in all different types of ways. But the thing that brought us to them was the gospel of Christ. So we all went out with the mission to preach Christ and Him crucified, His life, His death, His resurrection, to meet people's physical needs as well as their spiritual needs, to meet them with food, shelter, clothing, whatever else God might have for them, and then to also just gel together as a group. So this is what this group did this week. We have many different experiences, many different stories, and many different testimonies of the way God was faithful through that. But I didn't tell you this before the week started. If you're a parent, I'll tell you after. We were in some pretty dangerous situations. But God, it's a testimony to God's faithfulness because He brought them out. Actually, I had a first. One of our outreach leaders told us that he was packing, and that was the first time that I've ever heard that. But that's when I knew this is the real deal. But God was faithful, and we were safe, and we did things that we've never done before. We've talked to people we've never talked to before, and God preserved our lives. He preserved our message of Christ, and He met us and other people where we were at. And so we're excited to share these testimonies with you. We're excited to bring this to you. We view this as us being sent out and now reporting back to the people who sent us. So I'll let them get started.
All right, this week our group made a difference in the kingdom, and it was really, really cool. You are going to hear a lot of different, really cool snapshots of what happened this week. But for me, the coolest thing that happened this week was that we collectively learned the importance and the power of prayer, hearing the voice of God, and faithfully obeying what that voice is telling us. And when I say we learned it. We didn't learn about it. We walked these streets, and to testify to what I didn't know that somebody was packing, but Thursday during worship, I just got this feeling that I was going to die that day. Like at the park, I was going to be shot. But through my prayer time and everything, there was obedience that I needed to listen to, and because of that, I felt protection, and we made it back. Cool. But anyway, you're going to hear these stories of the kids, and you're going to hear cool stories about healings, of people coming to know Jesus for the first time, encouraging friends, loving kids who are in very difficult places. But all of it comes from this heart of we prayed until we couldn't pray anymore. We listened to the voice of God each morning, and then we obeyed as we went out. And it was just really cool. I could fill this whole service with stories, and I wish I could, but they are going to do that for us. But it was a powerful, powerful place, or a powerful time for each one of us, and we get to share that with you this morning.
So I'm talking about the ministry that we did on Tuesday, and we went to a place called Wayside, which was a homeless center. And when we got there, we split into 3 groups, and one of the groups was making sandwiches and feeding the people their food. And then there was another group that was organizing a bunch of stuff. And then the group I was in the kitchen, and we were pulling chicken and cutting up onions. And then the highlight for me for the whole week was getting to see how many prayers got answered through the whole time that we were there.
Okay, so I'm going to share about the ministry that we did on Wednesday. And we went to a women's rehabilitation center for women that got stuck in drugs and alcohol. And then they could go there and they would go through these 12 steps. And it wasn't a Christian organization, but they had a lot of morals of Christianity. So most of them ended up Christian by the end. And once we got there, we split off into 3 groups. And after the tour, then my group went to the greenhouse, and I got to work next to one of the clients there, and her name was Heather. And she shared her testimony with me and just how God was with her through everything and how she really wants to just get out of that situation she was in and be a role model for her daughter, Olivia. She's 8. And she just got to share all of that with me. And then I got to pray with her at the end, and that was just a really good experience. And and then my highlight was learning how worship is supposed to feel.
So I got to talk to the same woman, Heather, and I thought it was pretty cool that we were just talking about life and how your words and your thoughts, they really matter and it will make or break your life. And I quoted a verse to her in Proverbs about how the power of life and death is in the tongue. And after I said that to her, she removed her bracelets and showed me that exact verse tattooed on her arm. And I just thought that was pretty cool how God works like that. And so my highlight of the week was, well, it was the first time that I got to spend with the youth since we are starting to help lead them. And it was really cool getting to know everyone, spending time, and just watching them pray and expect an answer and getting them answered. And yeah, it was just, they're a really great group of kids.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about what we did on Thursday. We went to a similar place that Aubrey was talking about, and it was like a rehab center for all of the people in Louisville, and it was called 7 Counties, I think. And we basically were just going around the front and the back end, and we're pulling all the weeds out from their gardens. And we were only there for like an hour and a half. It was really, really warm, and you were like soaked in sweat, but we made it through. And it felt like me and Krista were pulling weeds the one time, and we'd like look over, and it was just the guys were talking and not working. It was like one weed per like 10 words, and it was, then you'd turn around again and they were just all standing up in a circle. So me and Krista did all of that. And but that was what we did on Thursday. And my highlight of the week was like the worship and the sessions we had in the evenings. They were really powerful, and also just getting to hear all the stories from the people that went through like the program of YWAM.
So on Friday, we were originally going to go to another rehab center, probably doing more outside work or pulling more weeds. But they got the weeks messed up, so we actually ended up going to the Wayside thrift store, which was much preferred. And then basically what all the girls were doing, at least, we put clothes in rainbow order and just organized things. And something that stood out to me was just the kindness that the staff showed us. And we actually each got to pick out something from the thrift store, or most of us did. And the main manager there gave us a discount on it and was just super grateful for all the work that we were doing there. And then my highlight of the week was when Demetrius, one of the guys from the park that we were at, he actually ended up praying with us when we were doing our little prayer circle. So I just thought that was cool.
So basically, my story takes place at like a park, and after like these homeless shelters that we go to and like these rehab centers, we go to this park for every single day. And there was like 10 to 15 kids at this park. So basically, we were playing with this one kid named Solomon. And Brady kind of put him in a headlock, and he said he had ear pain. So like, oh, we'll pray for it. We prayed for it the first time, and it said his pain like kind of went away. It was like a 3 out of 10. Then we prayed for him the second time. It was like it went away completely. And like I just learned like the power of prayer this trip, and it's like power of prayer is like so much I can comprehend. And my highlight of the trip was probably the worship. The worship was really good.
All right. So I was at the same park that he was at, and like these little kids that you see, they basically came almost every day. And so I was like praying throughout the week. I was hoping that I could like have girls my age that I could just talk about the gospel to and just share the word. And so I was praying throughout the week, and it hasn't happened. So Thursday, I prayed really hard because I knew Friday would have been my last day. And so I was praying for these two girls, or like just girls to come. And so like on Friday, with an hour left, these two girls came. It was a 16-year-old and a 15-year-old, and I'm 16. So like that prayer was answered. So I thought that was really cool. And so we had hot dogs. So they like sat down and ate. And so they sat down and ate. And like I noticed that the 16-year-old, she had like a cross on her, a cross necklace. So I asked her if like she knows Jesus and everything. She said she does, but she doesn't want to become a Christian until like she gets out of all her sin. So then I just kind of explained to her that like God will take you in like no matter what, and he'll help you through all that sin. Like he's not waiting for you to become like very good. And so she had a lot of questions, and like a bunch of our team, like Aubrey and Leah and Riley, who's not here, but like we helped her answer the questions. And then we ended up getting to pray for her. And so that was really cool. And then they ended up leaving, but I was just really thankful that God did answer those prayers on the last day. So I thought that was really cool. And then my highlight of the week was probably just hearing all these like prayers becoming, or like these prayers being answered by God. I thought that was like, it was really moving.
A little bit of backstory behind mine's about one of our ministry leaders. We had three different ministry groups, and there were staff that went along with ours. And one of the staff members, his name was Joe. He was it was a little bit older than us, but he was very relatable. He was around our age. And he had a really interesting story because most of his life he had led a non-Christian life, but then around a year and a half, 2 years ago, he had found God. And one of the ways that he found God, he was hopeless. He didn't know what to do, so he bought a Bible. And then the Bible spoke to him, and he was just, ever since then, he never looked back. So us and Joe had grown really close, and we got to talking. He had so much advice for us, and no matter what we asked, he always had an answer for the question. And then he had said later after this, he had said that he had, all throughout his life, he had a problem with materialism. Couldn't let stuff go. He loved clothes, he loved shoes. But then God had helped him work on that. And so he got to a point where he would be able to give anything to anybody for the Lord. He could take the shirt off his back and give it to a homeless person if that's what the Lord was calling him to do. But he said the one thing that he could not give up, and he didn't think he could ever give up for the rest of his life, was his Bible. Because his Bible had literally grown with him throughout his faith. I mean, he showed it to us. It was amazing. Like almost every page had 5 sticky notes, cross references. It's my dream Bible. But then one of the things we were doing, we were handing out Bibles to people that didn't have them so that they could dive in the Word. And there was one man left at the very end of a Friday, the last day in the park. It's like this one guy we didn't have enough Bibles for. So Joe came onto the van as we were about to leave, and he asked, hey, does anybody have a Bible with them that they could give to him? We'll pay for another one. We can get you any Bible you want. Nobody had any more Bibles left. There was no Bibles left. And so Joe walked up to the guy, he prayed with him, and gave him his Bible, which was unbelievable. Like, it was such a witness to what the Lord's calling is for us. I mean, it really showed us that materialistic things really are just materialistic, and if it comes to spreading the word, then there's so many things that we have to do for that. So it was just really a beautiful thing and a testament to the faith that he has in the Lord. So he's really built strong hold in my faith. That's probably the highlight of my week too.
I'm going to be talking about small groups. So basically every day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, we had a worship session, and then we had a sermon right after that. And then after that, we would split up into our ministry groups, and then split down into girls and boys for small groups. Basically just to debrief what the sermon was about and our day too. I can't really speak for what other groups spoke about. And they also gave us a couple questions to answer so that we had something to talk about. But our group never needed anything like any help for what to talk about because our group was so good with asking questions, and our leader Joe was so good at answering them, and we just had such good conversations during our small groups. I'm pretty sure we were the last ones in the room. We went over the time every single night. One night, Thursday, we even missed the snack that was after because we stayed so long. So that was really good. It was really fruitful conversations. My highlight was probably the Bible story that Brady just told. It was so inspiring to see Joe give up that Bible. It was actually like the small group before Thursday night when Joe had showed us the Bible. It was so inspiring to see how much time he had spent with it. That alone was like, that could have been my highlight of the week alone. And then the next day for him to give it away to somebody who needed it more than him was just such a good witness. And it impacted other people's lives other than just that guy, because our whole group saw that, and everybody who's hearing this story right now can take that away. It was just a great moment, emotional moment. And then another part that I thought was really fun was playing cards with the boys. It was just, our rule was that you had to speak in a Boston accent. It was probably really annoying to everybody else except for us, but man, it was fun. And so it was a good, it was good fellowship, and it was a good time.
Yeah, to talk a little bit more about the small group and all the impact that Joe had on our group. We had a lot of good conversations. There was a lot of really fruitful, really sanctifying conversations that we had. And my favorite part was seeing how God was working in all the small things. And we were praying for the weather to hold back one day, and it did, thankfully, so that we could minister to all the kids at the park. Yeah, we sometimes got to the park and it was just completely empty, and we prayed for kids to show up, and within 10 minutes we had 10 to 15 kids running around and playing, which was amazing. This week just really showed me how much we can rely on God's sovereignty and his grace on our everyday lives. So yeah. I'm gonna share about what we did Tuesday, and it was a women's recovery center for alcoholism, and we were digging out the basement so they had space for more shelving using 5-gallon buckets and filling them with dirt, while the rest of the group did yard work and painted fences. And then after that, we went and had lunch at the picnic tables across the road. My favorite part of the trip was Gail Troyer's testimony about being a daughter of 2 Mexican missionaries, and about traveling the world and growing up, and how that affected her life with troubles in suicide and other things. But yeah.
All right, so I had a lot of nerves coming into this missions trip, being the oldest and then having like all your kids along. It was kind of nervous because I was like, how am I going to keep track of all of them? But the Lord, he really spoke to me on Tuesday. So as you heard, early in the morning, we'd have like a session, like a worship, and then we'd have our quiet time where we'd just go and be with the Lord. And so it was, and this was like first part of the week, because Monday we stayed on campus and we had no mission outreaches. And I just had a lot of anxiety. Like all those nerves just turned into anxiety, and like I don't think I hardly got any sleep Monday night. And so Tuesday, after worship, we had our quiet time, and in my quiet time, I was reading the Bible, and I just ended my quiet time with prayer, and I just prayed protection over all of our youth. I just pled the blood of Jesus on them, and I applied the full armor of God on all of them. And then that day, after we got done with our morning missions, we went to Shelby Park. And Shelby Park on Tuesday, it was kind of like the first part of the week, there wasn't very many kids there. So Tuesday, when we got there, there was no kids around, And so we just started kicking soccer ball around, and all of a sudden, like I'm in like dad mode, right? Like, so I'm like keeping a close eye on my little mission group, and I turn around and I don't see three of our littles. I don't see Bridget, Kylie, or Janice, and I turn to our mission crew leader, Owen, who works for YWAM. I'm like, hey, where did the girls go? And he's like, I think Haley, and Haley was another mission crew leader that worked for YWAM, and she was just a short little blonde-haired girl, right? And he was like, Haley took some of the girls, and they're gonna go talk to these people over underneath this pavilion. And so I had noticed these people under the pavilion when I first got there, and I knew it was a bunch of homeless people. I could just tell that it was a bunch of homeless people. And so I'm in dad mode. And so I walk straight back to the picnic table where I can like have a hawk's eye view of them. So I'm just standing there watching, and then like maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes later they come walking back, and everything's okay, and we just continue about our day. And then, but in the evening, after supper, we have another session, and during worship, God, and throughout the whole day, like I just completely forgot about my prayer, and so like I was in dad mode, just trying to keep eyes on everybody. And but during worship time in our evening session, God really spoke to me. He reminded, we were in worship, and he just reminded me of my prayer that I prayed over all the youth. And then he didn't necessarily like scorn me, but just in the most soft, gentle words, he just said, who am I to second guess him after I had prayed to him and asked him to take care and watch over the youth? And so at that point, I was just filled with like a calming peace, and all my anxiety and nerves just left, because I knew at that moment, I'm like, he's got him. Like, I don't have to worry. Like, I did my part. I prayed for them. I gave them to him. Like, he's got this taken care of. And so the rest of the week, I just made it my Monday morning prayer every day to cover all the youth. And I was just filled with peace. I had no more fear that, anything was going to happen. And then my highlight of the trip was Thursday. I got to just love on this one 12-year-old kid named Savion. He has special needs, and I literally was giving him piggyback rides from the swing set to the picnic table for water, and then right back to the swing set to push him. I literally pushed him all day long. And that Thursday when I was pushing him, there was another father that was there, just to give a little setting of Shelby Park. The father that was there pushing his daughter and son, he was asking me questions like, what are we out of? Like, what group were we out of? I told him it was YWAM from like the local church. And he was like, and what, you guys just pick a park? Or it's like, yeah, they just kind of assign us parks and pick a park for us. And he was like, and out of all the parks that you chose to choose, you chose Shelby Park, AKA Smoke Town. He just told me that a month prior, there was a girl that got shot because she was testifying on a jury or something. She got shot and killed. And I was just like, and I knew that, the setting was not good, but at the same time, like, we were going to be okay. So that's my highlight.
So I'm going to talk about Wednesday night. We went to this place called Wayside Homeless Ministries and stuff. There was a kitchen that we had to clean up. At the start, it was like really messy, and there was a lot of stuff like leaking all over the place, and it was pretty dirty, I'd say. But near the end, we like really flipped it around, and we made it a good place for these people to be eating at. After that, and I'd consider this to be like my highlight of the trip. I saw this woman, and she looked very sad, basically. So she was sitting down eating a meal, and she was very sad. And I walked up to her, and she said that earlier, like not too long ago, she had all of her belongings stolen from her. Like everything down to her wallet, and like literally everything she owned was just gone in an instant. So here she was in this situation, and she said that she had like health issues and stuff, and she kept falling and hurting herself accidentally. And she said that have like me being there praying for her, Andrew and I and Andre, we made a big difference really for her because she was really struggling in the moment. So I feel that the opportunity that I had to pray for her was such a big deal. And yeah, that's my highlight.
Okay, so before I talk about evening session, I want to read a verse that really meant a lot to me this week. It's in James 1:12, and it says, God blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation. Afterward, they will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. This verse just meant a lot because the beginning of the week, we barely had any kids and come to the park, and it just showed us that this verse just kind of like taught me that like patience and like we could have just gotten really down and just like, oh, there's never going to be any kids show up, but we just had faith that God would allow kids to show up, and they did. Anyway, for session, every night after we got back from like the park and the ministry in the morning, a few people share their testimonies about the day, and then we had somebody give a message and then worship, which was really powerful. My highlight of the week was on Wednesday. There was a 60 or 70% chance of rain, and everybody in the morning just prayed that it wouldn't rain and that we could go out to our parks and minister to the kids. And I mean, it was sunny and like clear skies the whole day. And then once we got back, we went in for a session, and we got back and it was raining during the time, and we got back out and it cleared up and there was a beautiful rainbow and just like the prettiest sunset. So that was just meant a lot.
So I'm going to be talking about Thursday. Our group went to a middle school called West Point Middle School. We did yard work. We were pulling weeds and mulching and all that good stuff. So it was really hard because we had done a bunch of outdoor work the entire week. So Owen, our like leader, telling us the night before after small groups, telling us, oh yeah, we're gonna do a little bit more yard work. Yeah, so yeah, that was what we did literally the entire day up until lunch. And I got a pretty nasty story of Bridget. I bet her $5 she wouldn't eat a worm, and she picks it up and eats it. Very unexpected, but yeah. And then the highlight of my trip was probably Tuesday and Wednesday. I played basketball with a homeless man named E. He was a little on the wild side, and he was actually not that bad. Like he was pretty good. I lost both games, and yeah, that was still the highlight though, playing with him.
Hi, my name's Sadie. This is kind of my group here. So to preface this, we went to Shelby Park, and Pat explained a little bit about it, but I'll be talking about Thursday after we did all that yard work. We went back to the park, and up until Thursday, there were like no kids. And it was really it kind of got me down because every time we would go back to the base camp, everybody would be like, oh, we had 20 kids, we had so much fun. And up until that point, we didn't have anybody. And so I was praying really hard. We were all praying really hard. And Thursday, once we got to the park, once again, there was nobody there. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, what's so wrong with this park? And then we found out there was a shooting and everything the last month, and it was super dangerous. But so we just got gathered around a picnic table and our group prayed. And specifically Haley, the short blonde staff member for YWAM, she prayed for 7 or 8 kids by 2 o'clock. And right after we got done praying, we looked up and there was this little kid running towards us. His name was Tootie. And he was like super pumped that we were there. So I took him. I was like, "What do you want to do?" And he was like, "Let's go to the water." And then we got halfway to the water. He was like, "Let's go play soccer." And so it was just like this big run around. And I was so focused on him for the longest time that once I like slowed down and looked up, there were just kids everywhere. And I was talking to Haley afterwards, and she said she looked at her clock, and we had exactly 8 kids by 1:57. So it was just really impactful to see that. And then by the end, when we had to leave, we had 21 kids. So it was triple what we had asked for. So it was just like really, I really got to see the power of prayer. Like Leah said, we all just really got to see all the prayers that were answered. And so, yeah, that was really cool. And then my highlight of the week, I actually have a couple. So the homeless man that Andrew played basketball with, I had a dance battle with him, and he was super funny. And like I do not dance, so it was like super out of my comfort zone. But he was really cool with it. We just were groovy with it, you know. And then my second impactful or like favorite part of the week was during session we had to talk about identity and identity through Christ. And the speaker, he made us make these ID cards. They were called Citizen of Heaven ID cards. And I'll show you mine. So mine is this little box right here. He made us write Heaven Citizen ID card on it. And so I wrote, "I am kind, I am worthy of love, and I'm made with a specific gift, and my gift is valuable." And I don't really know why I wrote, "I'm worthy of love." Like, it just kind of felt like I know I'm loved. But then later on Thursday night, we also got these cards that YWAM made us. They're prayer cards, and the staff, without knowing us, prayed over just our names, and they were given words to write down on this little piece of paper here. So mine just has my name right on the middle, and then like when they gave it to me, the very first thing in red letters here, it says "worthy of love." And it's literally the exact thing that I put on my ID card. So it was just like cool to see the correlation there. And then my third story that I have, that was my favorite part of the week, was on Thursday night. Lexi and me were kind of like diagonal from each other in the room that we had to sleep in. And it just like started out, we were goofing off. We were so tired and exhausted. I like crawled over to her and I was just making funny noises and stuff. And then the lights turned off, and I had like the window right beside my bed, so it like cast a shadow on us. And so me and Claudia terrorized her for probably about 45 minutes, and she was terrified. She was screaming, and everybody throughout the whole hallway could hear, and it was just really funny. And yeah, she was really scared, so I was really happy.
Okay, hi, I'm Bridget. I'm the one who ate the worm. But so I'm going to talk about Friday. We went to a home that was for women who had just come out of jail, and they were just trying to get reacclimated into like everyday life. And I just thought it was such a cool program, and they actually had a dog there named Bridget, which weird coincidence. But we just like helped them with their outdoor work, and we painted a fence for them, and we just made their backyard look really pretty for them. But I want to say that my favorite part of the week was the park that we went to. There was this one girl who came a few days. Her name was Shania, and she really liked playing in the splash pad. And it was me and Janice who were with her, and she actually asked us to pray with her. And she was 7 years old, and before that she hadn't talked about being a Christian at all. And so I just thought it was really moving that like us showing her love and speaking about this brought her to like want us to pray with her, and she wanted to pray over us and stuff. And I just thought that was so sweet. And we actually found out that day they had to leave the park early because they were going to go pick up keys to a new house because they had been homeless. And I just thought that that was just so special and powerful. So yeah, that's my story.
So my name's Andre. Another thing that happened at Shelby Park that I'm going to talk about was, so like Pat said, some of the girls had went to the pavilion to talk to those people. And just for some context, the Shelby Park's like 16-ish acres, rectangular, and right in the middle there's a big pavilion. And like Pat was sharing, it was homeless. And it was kind of their meeting grounds for using substances. And so the girls had went, and from what I had heard, they had gotten rather quickly rejected. Just like as far as no conversation, they didn't want any part of that. And so like Sadie had said, on Thursday it was super busy, full of kids. So everyone had someone to play with, and we were throwing football with all the kids and everything. And then Friday, it was a little bit slower. So me, Dylan, Andrew, and Kyle decided we're going to go talk to him again. So we did a little walk around the park, and we mustered up the courage to go talk to him. Very intimidating. These people, like, it's just not someone you just can walk up to. They don't want to see you. They don't want to talk to you, especially there was a guy named Robert that one of our staff leaders was talking to, and he was actually kind of stayed at that pavilion, but he had come talk to us, was a lot more open to us, and he had said the conversations there, they were not very happy with the church people. And so, yeah, we just went and started talking to him, and the one guy we were really talking to is Charles Gates, and he didn't really want to do anything more than just argue with us. He wasn't very, he was just a older guy stuck in his ways. We talked to him as much as we could. We tried to share the gospel. And in the end, we just prayed for him, and we walked away. And really, it was just like, it just felt like it was all we could really do. Just kind of do what we can and walk away. And so we went back to the little picnic table where our base was for the park, and we were going to do one of our little drama skits or whatever. And just as everything was getting set up, we saw him walk over, which was just a huge surprise to everybody, just based on the reaction he was giving us. So he stayed, and he watched the skit, and we got to talk to him a little bit more. And it was just interesting to see, like, at least a slight change of heart, from not wanting to talk to us at all to actually kind of being interested. Came over. I think he got some food. I could be wrong. We were getting out hot dogs. But so yeah, that was just kind of impactful to see even the slightest change in someone. And then one of my favorite parts was just the sharing and the testimonies. Testimonies were extremely powerful. They come from things that people around here just don't get to experience. Like I think Andrew had said, or someone had said, like a Mexican that had come from like missionary families. Like that's just something, and like just the stuff that she had gone through, like extreme bullying, getting moved across the country. Just it was extremely powerful testimonies. That was one of my favorite things. Another one of my favorite things was playing cards with the boys. We were playing euchre, and it was me and Matt and Carson and Jackson were the teams. And I find it funny that Jackson used the word fun because they got destroyed. So I think that might be why Carson's not here. He was just too ashamed. No, Carson, actually on a serious note, like Carson and Pat were our leaders. Carson's not here. He's actually in Indiana camp. Most of you know it as Indiana camp. It's like a prairie camp, whatever. So yeah, I guess just keep those guys in your prayers. Like Pat was, I couldn't ask for better leaders. Like Pat, just a
a really good father figure to everybody around. Being the older guy, always laughing, smiling. Really good guy. And Carson as well, a little more my age. Yeah, these guys, just the hearts of leaders. Like Carson, he left with us Sunday night. What do you like Sunday? We left Sunday, and the whole week he comes back. He drove down and back from Louisville, which is like 5-ish hours, to come back, wash his clothes, get packed again, drive another 4 or 5 hours to go counsel another week. Like that's amazing. That's the leadership that I really look up to. So yeah, if you guys just keep him in your prayers for energy and focus and all that, he's doing great things.
So I'm going to be talking about Tuesday, or what we did on Tuesday. Early in the morning, we went to a homeless ministry, and we left, and we just got to a random building, and there we met the leader, Alex. He was the guy that was packing, and he also said that if we wander off, he'll go and put us in a headlock and drag us back to the van. And he pretty much just gave us the rundown of what we're going to be doing, and we pretty much just went to a homeless shelter, and we just handed out bags of food and hygiene, stuff like that. And afterwards, we would leave there and go play with some kids at a park. And my highlight of the week would probably be more of a personal experience throughout the week. Pretty much like before I even left for the mission trip, I was just praying to God that I could just come back here with like a good story to tell. And during the mission trip, when we would pray with the kids or play with the kids, my arm apparently was getting like really sore throughout the whole trip, and I didn't really realize it until like Thursday. And then Friday it was the last day, it was Friday, and I thought I wasn't going to have a story to share when I came back here. And then Friday during worship, I put my hand out to worship, and when I did that, I realized my arm hurts incredibly bad. So I just went and I just bowed my head and I prayed to God. And the first thing, all I thought about was just, I pray that you can heal my arm. As soon as I said that, I felt, only thing I can describe it was like a strong breeze just came straight from the stage and it hit me. And then when I finished praying, I just went and moved my arm and it just felt normal, like completely fine. And after that, that kind of really showed me the power of prayer and how powerful it is. And I would say that that is one of the biggest takeaways I can take away from this trip.
I'm going to talk about Tuesday as well. We went to the homeless food shelter and passed out bags of food and stuff like that. And afterwards, we went to this park, and we actually got lucky. We had a community center right beside our park, so they would let their kids out, and we would play with them for a few hours before we would go back to the YWAM base camp. And so the first day we were playing with them, and we went inside and we were in the gym playing basketball. It was actually me, Matt, and this other guy against two 10-year-olds and one of their counselors, and we lost the 3-game series. So, but besides that, my highlight of the trip was actually at the food shelter that day. It was me, Gina, and Cole in a group, and we were passing out bags, and I seen other groups that were like talking to other people and like spreading the word of God and stuff like that. And we were having a lot of trouble like talking to people. Like I would try and talk to this girl, and she would just kind of say that she didn't want to talk, and so things weren't really going the best for us. And we were walking around, and we had like maybe 30 minutes left before we had to leave. And we met this guy named Timsy, and so we talked with him for a little bit, and he shared his testimony about how he was like got deep into drugs and was sober then for a few years, and he was really open and inviting to what we had to share, even though we're much younger than him. And in a better state of mind than him. And so he was a really cool dude. We talked to him for a while, and he let us pray over him. And it was a really cool experience. And at the end, he said he can't wait to see us in heaven one day, which I thought was pretty impactful on us. And last thing I have to say is I'm sorry, Matt and Carson, for keeping you guys awake at night.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about our morning ministry on Wednesday. We went to a food pantry and kind of like a store for single parents. It was called Spark Hope, and we did a lot of different jobs around there. We did some organizing for the store and the pantry, and we checked expiration dates. Some of the guys did some work outside. They cleaned around a dumpster, and the owner of the building, I think, came out and said it's the best it's ever looked. It's just a dumpster, but so Gina and I got the task of shredding papers. So we just shredded papers all morning. And you would think that would be so boring and just take forever, and it wasn't too bad. Time flew, for me anyways. I don't know about Gina, but her machine broke, so then we were working together. But we did that, and it wasn't as bad as you would expect it to be. And I think my highlight for the week would have been the worship in the evenings, not just the worship in the evenings, but we had worship in the morning as well. And all of it was just so powerful, and getting to see and be a part of a huge group of youth and people my age, seeing all of us worship together and just be there for the same purpose was just a really, really powerful experience.
I'm talking about our quiet time we had every day. We had it after our worship in the mornings. We had about a half hour that we just spent alone between us and God. And this was really special to me because one day I was reading I think it was 1 Corinthians, about spiritual gifts. And I was reading about speaking in tongues. And I kind of had a basic understanding about that. But I was like, oh, that'd be cool if I could learn more about that. It's kind of interesting. And then a little later in the day, we were eating, and I went to throw away my plate and stuff like that. I came back, and Brady was talking about it, and he just had he went really in depth with it, and he explained it so well and so perfectly. Yeah, that really touched me, and I thought that was really cool. And then the highlight for me was same as Micah, was speaking to Timsy. And yeah, it just really touched me how he was in such low points of his life, and he still found it in his heart to follow God, and just it just really had a big impact on me. And yeah.
Okay. I'm going to talk about Thursday and what we did. We went to a place called Wayside where we got the chance to be able to just serve homeless people and just serve them food. A lot of people got the chance to go over and talk to them while we're serving food. We had chicken, rice, that kind of looked like mashed potatoes, and bread and salad. So it was just a good chance to be able to just help out. And it was just really impactful. And the highlight for me this week was talking in a small group. So it was just a good chance to be able to open up and just share stuff that you're struggling with, and just being able to just open up and have people help you out with that stuff. So yeah, it was a good weekend. Yeah.
Okay, I'm also going to be talking about Wayside that we went to on Thursday. It was kind of like a hotel for homeless people that went there, and then we were at the spot where they would get food. And we split into two groups when we got there. The one group was out front serving food to the people, and my group, we were in the back making sandwiches and cutting onions and cutting bread for them. And then when they ran out of stuff for us to do, we went out to where everyone was sitting, and I got to talk to this one lady who I started talking to her, and she was telling me how her family, her own family, had moved her down there because they just didn't have room for her anymore. And she looked really sad, so I got to pray with her, and I felt like God wanted me to encourage her. So I was telling her how she should just trust God, and He has a plan for her. And she just looked really appreciative for that. And one of my favorite parts of the trip was playing with those kids that we had at our park. We were really fortunate to have a bunch of kids every day, and they were just so sweet and so fun to play with. I'm really going to miss them. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for praying for us. It really wasn't the safest place for us to be, but God kept us safe. So thank you guys.
So when we went on outreaches from Tuesday to Friday, our second outreach was always going to Russell Lee Memorial Park. And like Micah said, we were blessed with over 40 kids, and I know a lot of other groups were struggling with getting kids, but we were blessed with a lot of kids, and we made a lot of friendships. And the first day on Tuesday, they came out, and then they invited us into their nice air conditioning gym, and we got to play with them for a couple hours. And yeah, we played with them all that week, and except Thursday or Friday, they went on a field trip, so we had to say our goodbyes Thursday, and it was hard because of all the friendships that we made and just how close we got with each kid. And but Friday, that day we went around and we knocked on people's doors, and we got around 15 people to come, so that was cool. But then my favorite part was on Thursday, we were playing a game right before worship, and it was involving running, and I tripped over Bridget, and I hit my chin on the floor, and I got a really bad headache. So I went in, I took Advil, and then we went to worship. And while we were worshiping, I passed out, and then Gina helped me up, and then we were walking out, and I passed out again. And then we went out, and they gave me a lot of electrolytes and water and just stuff to drink. And then the one EMT there, she was also a counselor, but she was there and she was helping me. And she asked if she could pray over my headache because I had a really bad headache at the time. And so they prayed, and it went it didn't hurt as bad as it did, which I told them. And then she was like, well, can I pray for you again? I was like, yeah. So everybody laid their hands on me again, and it completely went away. And that was really cool because, like Jackson's story, they prayed for him twice. And so, like, you don't always need to pray for people or once. You can always keep praying for them.
My name is Gina, and so on Friday, for our last outreach, we went to this church called Refuge Church, and there was this couple there that was kind of telling us like odd jobs to do just around and just things that we could do. So we kind of just did whatever we could. Some of us were cleaning, some of us were organizing, some of us found dead rats. So we kind of just did whatever we could. Matt mowed the lawn for them. It was kind of hard to feel useful and like that we were helping them out because there wasn't much to do there. Like not many jobs to go around that we could all feel like we were doing something. But then the couple that was there with us, they decided to show us a tour of their building. And so it was really good that they could kind of just show us they would like go around and show us what each room was used for and their dreams for the future and things that they wanted to add to their church. And it was just really good to hear their dreams and like that they could just use us as a way to kind of verbalize those dreams and like show us that we were being helpful and that we were helping them to move towards those. And so we were able to pray for them and just, help them out there. And one of my highlights of the week was definitely the kids at the park. We made a lot of good friendships with those kids, and especially one of the little girls, it was an 8-year-old named Legacy. She and I really got close in the 3 days that we were with them. And we kind of connected because she didn't get along with the kids there very well, so it was a blessing for me to be able to just kind of love on her and show her a friendship that she could cherish. And on the last day that we were there, her and her friend Marley did Kayla and I's hair, and it was just a really special moment. And so, yeah.
Um, so I'm going to talk about kind of more of what we did on Friday. So we didn't have any kids on Friday because they went off on a field trip. So we went, like Kayla said, we went door to door to we split up into like twos and threes and went each on a separate street, and we knocked on these doors and we told them that, oh, we're at this park till 3 if you want to bring your family and your kids and we can play with them and stuff like that. So I was in a group with one of the YWAM leaders and Luke, I think. And we were walking back to the park, and we to go see how many kids were there, if there was anyone to play with. And we saw these 2 kids that were walking towards us, and there was a girl. She was 18. Her name was Miriam, and it was her little brother. So we were walking with them back to the park. We invited them to the park with us, and I got really close with Miriam at the park, and we just had a lot of fun. And at the end, a few of us girls, we got to pray for her, and she just became it seemed like one of my best friends. And we exchanged phone numbers, and we're actually still texting, and I'm just getting to know a whole lot more about her family, and I just thought that was really cool. And my highlight of the trip, going back to what Kayla said about the night when she passed out, when that happened, it was just so cool to see all of us girls. I mean, during that worship time, we got in a big circle, and we just prayed and prayed for Kayla that was in the back, and it was just cool. And it was probably my highlight to see all of us just become closer as a youth group. And yeah, we had a lot of fun this week.
This was an amazing week for each and every one of us. It was really cool to see God use us in powerful ways. And each and every student here stepped out of their comfort zone and did things that seemed really scary. They just had a conversation with somebody that they didn't know. They talked about our Savior with them, and then watched the Spirit's work move within their hearts. So what I want to do to end it is have the youth stand. And before Dale comes up, I just want to pray for them. We know that when you come back from a trip like this, there's a spiritual high going on. And this is prime time for the enemy's attack on their lives. And something that we've continually talked about is that this doesn't have to be a Kentucky thing. This can be a school thing, a work thing, a family thing, a friend thing. The gospel is transformational. And all it takes is somebody willing to proclaim it. And so what I want to ask you guys to do is, I think that sometimes in church we are susceptible to just going through formalities. But I want to ask you, each and every one of you here, to pray for this group as they apply this to their day-to-day lives. And so if you really will pray for them, if you really will talk to our Savior about them, would you please raise your hand toward the front, and then let's pray. God, we thank you for this group. We thank you that they're willing to be obedient to the call that you've placed on their lives. God, we have people in all different spheres of life, in all different places, in all different towns, in all different families. We have missionaries. We have people who are willing to proclaim your message. So God, would you use them in powerful ways? Would you work through your Spirit in their lives? Would you protect them from the attacks of the evil one? And would you transform our community around us because we are willing to be obedient to your call? We pray this all in your Son's name. Amen.